get into today's video topic discussing free agent targets for the Minnesota Vikings, we have a little bit of breaking news out of Minnesota. Just before I hit record, they decided that they were going to release Chris Jones. Another cornerback is now off the roster, joining Tay Hayes and Cordero Tankersley from last week. So that's 3 corners we are now down. And that's actually kind of relevant. It'll help us segue into today's topic because we are going to be looking at the guard and cornerback positions for free agency as potential targets that the Vikings could try to bolster the roster before the NFL draft. And I've highlighted these 2 positions specifically, and we may do another video where we look at defensive line and safety and anything else that we feel like we might need. But I feel like these 2 positions, if we were to be able to afford, are the positions that we should be throwing free agent money at this offseason. There's still a lot that needs to happen between now and when free agency begins, the legal tampering period. We still have to figure out the franchise tag, which I don't think the Vikings are going to be really all that interested in franchise tagging anybody right now. I don't think there's a candidate that's worthy of that this year. If they bring back Anthony Harris, I think it has to be on a lower contract. That could get pushed back. That deadline is supposed to be tomorrow. They're still working out what the salary cap is going to be. We know the floor is going to be at least $180 million. They're working on figuring out how high it could potentially be, TV deals, a whole bunch of behind the scenes stuff is going on. So this week we can discuss what free agent targets that we would like to have for the Vikings to sign if we were able to afford them. And I'm going to go ahead through this video and just assume that we've got at least enough money to sign 1, maybe 2 of these guys. So we'll go through, I'll give you my list. I have a top 5 at the guard position. I have a top 5 at the corner position. So we'll start off first with the guard because I believe the guard position, and I think most people are going to agree with me, is the one that needs the most addressing. Rick Spielman and the Vikings have just ignored well, not ignored completely, but they've done a poor job of putting together an offensive line for this team for a number of years. This goes all the way back to, the last couple of years that Steve Hutchinson was here. And then ever since, it's felt like we've never had really anything truly that amazing. I think the 2017 offensive line played out of its mind. We're never going to be able to recapture that magic with this group. And, yeah, we need some guards. Let's just say it as simply as possible. So I'm going to go through the list here as potential free agent candidates for the Minnesota Vikings. And I think at the top of the guard list, everybody would agree, is Joe Thuney, the guard from the New England Patriots. I went on sportrack.com and they value his contract valuation for this year at $15.3 million per year. So it's going to be rather expensive to try to get him. He is only 28 years old. He has 5 years experience in the league. He's one of the best rated guards hitting free agency this year. If we have the money to go after him, this would be my priority signing, number 1 dream scenario, to bring Joe Thuney in, have him play next to Riley Reef. Hopefully his experience and his presence on the offensive line would help Garrett Bradbury out. Ezra Cleveland can stay at the right guard position where it looks like he might be okay. And then Brian O'Neill stays at right tackle. That is a huge improvement over Dakota Dozier or anything else that I think we could probably put together for the offensive line. Option number 2 at the guard position, I would go with Brandon Scherff, the guard from the Washington football team. They averaged his contract valuation out at $12.7 million per year. That's what he could expect to get on the free agent market. So that's how much it would potentially cost us. Maybe a little bit more if we get into a bidding war with other teams. 29 years old, 6 years experience, a former first round, 5th overall draft pick. So the pedigree is there, and he's not quite Joe Thuney, but I think he's pretty close. So those are the top 2 candidates that I would enlist at the guard position as targets. Rounding out the top 5, I would probably go after Gabe Jackson, previously of the Las Vegas Raiders. J.R. Sweezy, previously of the Arizona Cardinals. He's a veteran that's been around for a while. If we can't really get any of these players that are in their prime, why not take a shot at him? It would probably be a 1, maybe 2-year contract, not quite as expensive as like $12 or $15 million. And then last but not least, Kalechi Osemele from the Kansas City Chiefs, just because I feel like he has played under the radar at the guard position, experienced left guard, as a matter of fact. So that would be, well, not just him, but like anybody is a definite upgrade over Dakota Dozier any day of the week. So those would be my 5 choices. For the guard position, if we were to go after that in free agency, just to recap, Brandon Scherff, Joe Thuney, Gabe Jackson, J.R. Sweezy, and Kalechi Osemele. If there's somebody else that I missed, obviously let me know. And if there's a guy on that list that you don't want for whatever reason, fill me in. Moving on to the cornerback position. And the reason I'm going after cornerbacks as a priority 2 in this scenario is because we don't have a lot of depth. We've already released 3 corners in the past week, and we don't have a lot of experience at corner. Now, Chris Boyd is fine, but I think we can do better than that, right? I'm not at all worried about Jeff Gladney. I'm not at all worried about Cameron Dantzler. I think those guys are great starting on both sides of the field. And the experience that they got last year being thrown into the fire is just going to help them, elevate them even more in their sophomore season. I think the development is going to be there for them, especially if we can get the defensive line figured out and get the pass rush back to what it used to be. So if we can do that, and then we've got Jeff Gladney, we've got Cameron Dantzler. I'm worried about depth, but I'm also, maybe looking for somebody that I could put as another starter. Maybe for the nickel package, we move somebody to nickel corner, have another guy start outside. So my first priority would probably be Patrick Peterson, who I don't think is going to re-sign in Arizona. Sportrack put his valuation that he could expect this year at $10.4 million, 30 years old, 10 years in the league. He's been around a while. I don't expect it to be a long-term contract. Maybe like a 2, 3, maybe 4-year max deal. I think I'm getting way too way too not ambiguous, but just speculating a little too much on contract length. But that's potentially a target. Second target, I don't know how people are going to feel about this one, but I would bring this guy in just for the veteran presence, and that would be Richard Sherman. He's a little bit on the older side. He's approaching 33 years old here in the next couple of weeks. His contract evaluation put him at $9.9 million. That's about how much it would cost to get him, maybe a little bit more. Also a guy with 10 years experience in the league. But I feel like bringing a guy like Richard Sherman in, who's played in the big games, he's been to the Super Bowl, playoff experience, one of the more better corners in the league over the last couple of years, a former member of the Legion of Boom in Seattle. Somebody to be able to bring in a guy like that is just so valuable to the locker room. For the younger guys at the position like Dantzler and Gladney, somebody that they could lean on and learn from as they go into their sophomore seasons. And I think we'd be able to get some service out of him for 1 or 2 years. Other than that, I would round out the top 5 with a couple of free agents I looked on the list. Buster Skrine strikes me as intriguing. Former Chicago quarterback. Get him out of the Chicago, but keep him in the division. It's always interesting to get players from other teams. I also listed Kevin King, even though he got absolutely destroyed in the NFC Championship game. I feel like he still offers some value as a depth player. And then just somebody else that just kind of intrigued me, Roby Coleman from Philadelphia. Just another guy that's not, probably not a household name, but somebody who has some experience with the Eagles over the last couple of years. So that is basically the target list for the guard position and the corner position. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is there anybody that I missed that's going to be a free agent, or is there any of those guys that you want nothing to do with? And that's going to do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.